Introduction. What if I told you that even the one we call the deceiver, the fallen angel, the great opposer, the prince of darkness himself, once had to follow orders? What if I told you that there were heavenly beings so mighty, so radiant, and so bound to the will of the Almighty that even Satan himself could not resist their authority? These were no ordinary angels. They were not simple messengers dropping words of comfort into the ears of kings, nor were they just guardians placed at graves or gates. These were beings of awe, ancient figures with divine power that struck fear into both the faithful and the fallen. They carried not their own authority, but the very authority of God. And when they moved, even Lucifer fell silent. In this journey, we will uncover the story of three angels, so deeply intertwined with heaven's order, so fierce in their purpose, that their very presence shattered rebellion and reminded creation who truly reigns. This is the story of the three angels before whom Lucifer bowed. The kingdom before time, long before humanity saw its first sunrise, before Eden bloomed with life, before the ground beneath us had even been formed, there was already a kingdom, not one built of stone, but of spirit, power, and glory. In this eternal realm, the throne of God radiated with brilliance beyond description, surrounded by countless angelic beings. Their numbers were beyond imagination. Millions upon millions of spiritual warriors and servants, each assigned a name, a duty, and a place of rank in heaven's order. Among these heavenly hosts was one angel whose story has become infamous, Lucifer. Once called Helel ben Shakar, the morning star, he was not always the symbol of rebellion we view him as now. At first, he was radiant, a masterpiece of wisdom and beauty. He carried responsibility over music, light, and worship. He walked among fiery stones, basking in divine favor. Other angels admired him, not from fear, but from awe of his splendor. But even then, there were three angels he dared not cross. Three messengers of such closeness to the throne that their words carried the direct charge of God himself. Their presence exposed pride, uprooted rebellion, and silenced deceit before it could take root. These three bore not just heavenly titles, they carried heaven's authority. When harmony broke, heaven was not always divided. There was once perfect harmony among the hosts. These three angels, along with Lucifer, all held leadership in God's celestial order. Yet pride, as subtle as a whisper, began its work. Lucifer marveled at his own brilliance until admiration turned into arrogance. He began to see glory as his right. The throne, once a reminder of service, became the focus of his ambition. His whispers spilled into the ears of other angels, planting seeds of doubt. But the three who stood nearest God were not swayed. They reminded Lucifer that all beauty, all strength, all wisdom, even his own, were borrowed gifts from the one seated on the throne. They made the boundary clear. His power was not self-made, and it could never rival the source of creation. From that moment forward, a line was drawn across eternity. The three who upheld heaven's order became Lucifer's constant reminder of his defeat. He could fight, but before them he could not win. He could rage, but before them he could not resist. He could boast, but before them even his voice trembled. And now we reveal them one by one. 1. Michael. The commander of heaven's armies. The first is Michael, the warrior of heaven, the commander-in-chief of God's angelic hosts. His name itself is a battle cry. Who is like God? It is not posed as a question, but as a challenge, an unflinching taunt to every force that dares to claim equality with the Creator. Michael is not a messenger. He is the sword of heaven. When his presence arrives, it means battle is engaged, and war has ignited. From the earliest rebellion to the visions of the final days, Michael appears as heaven's great fighter, the mighty archangel against whom Lucifer cannot prevail. When Lucifer first attempted rebellion, gathering a third of heaven's angels, Michael rose against him with divine authority. The book of Revelation describes this clash. Michael and his angels fighting against the dragon and his followers. This was not a symbolic tale. This was the most decisive battle in the unseen realms, a war between arrogance and divine order, between rebellion and obedience. Lucifer lost utterly. He was cast down not by God's direct hand, but through Michael, God's appointed general. That detail matters. Michael's strength does not come from his own might but from his divine commissioning. He is an agent, a vessel of God's authority. And Lucifer, even at his proudest, could not withstand that authority. Throughout Scripture, we see Michael repeatedly standing as protector and defender. He is named in the book of Daniel as the one who guards Israel. He disputes with the devil over the body of Moses, a confrontation so intense that the veil of mystery surrounds it. And in visions of the end times, Michael once again rises to lead heaven's armies for the final clash against darkness. Even now, believers understand Michael as a symbol of spiritual warfare, of protection, and of heaven's power still active in unseen realms. And why does Lucifer obey him? Because Michael is the eternal reminder that the devil has already lost. Michael embodies the truth that rebellion cannot forever stand against obedience. He is not just a warrior. He is living proof that pride bows when faced with divine order. 2. Gabriel. The voice that shakes kingdoms. If Michael is heaven's sword, then Gabriel is its trumpet. His presence is never ordinary. He arrives with messages that alter destinies, words that change the course of history. His name means God is my strength, and whenever he appears in Scripture, the world itself shifts. Gabriel is no comforter of casual doubts. He is an interruption. When he enters a scene, heaven's decree is breaking through earthly confusion. He visited Daniel to give visions and understanding of what was unfolding in history. He appeared to Zechariah, announcing the birth of John the Baptist. And most famously, he came to Mary in Nazareth to announce the coming of Jesus Christ. Think about that. One angelic announcement altered human history forever. Gabriel's simple declaration shattered the grip of darkness. At his words, prophecy moved forward, and the devil's plans began to unravel. This is why Lucifer fears Gabriel. Satan thrives on confusion, deception, and noise. But what he cannot resist or silence is a voice straight from the throne of God. Gabriel's words are not opinion, they are decree. The prince of darkness cannot block prophecy. He cannot erase God's promise. He can only try to delay. In the book of Daniel, we even see Gabriel resisted by dark spiritual forces, such as the prince of Persia. For 21 days, the battle raged until Michael arrived to clear the demonic resistance. Why such determination to block Gabriel? Because when Gabriel speaks, history moves forward. And nothing, not even Lucifer, can undo a word delivered by him. Gabriel represents heaven's voice that cannot be silenced. He is not a warrior with a blade, he doesn't need one. His strength is in his message. When Gabriel declares, God has spoken, even the enemy is forced to retreat. 3. Raphael. The angel of healing and justice. Compared to Michael and Gabriel, Raphael is more mysterious. His name means God heals, and yet to see him only as a healer is to misunderstand his role. He brings restoration, but his restoration is not weakness. It is judgment against what is broken. Raphael is a force that dismantles demonic corruption, binds oppressors, and repairs what Satan has tried to shatter. In the apocryphal book of Tobit, Raphael appears disguised as a traveler, guiding, healing blindness, and driving out tormenting spirits. Yet the story reveals something deeper. Raphael does not simply comfort wounds. He undoes the damage caused by demons. His presence reveals the terrifying truth for Lucifer. All that Satan destroys, God can restore. Families broken, minds poisoned, eyes blinded to truth. Raphael's work interrupts this cycle. To the devil, Raphael is more terrifying than armies, because where Michael fights with war and Gabriel with words, Raphael fights with restoration. Ancient writings such as the Book of Enoch describe Raphael as the one commanded to bind Azazel, a rebellious leader among the fallen watchers. Bound and exiled until judgment, it was Raphael, instead of Michael or Gabriel, who carried out this powerful act of justice. Satan fears Raphael because his authority operates in secrecy, binding what is hidden, exposing corruption, and re-establishing heaven's order in places the enemy tried to twist. Raphael reminds Lucifer that destruction will never have the final word. Healing and restoration are divine weapons, and Satan cannot stand against them. Three powers, one authority: Michael, Gabriel, and Raphael. Three very different roles, three expressions of heaven's power. War, voice, and restoration. They do not act from their own strength, but from the one who sits on the throne. Lucifer does not obey them because they are mighty in themselves, but because they are backed by the power of God. These three were, and still are, reminders to Satan of his limits. No matter how far he seeks to deceive, no matter how furiously he rages, he cannot overcome what has already been spoken, established, and enforced by heaven. The truth still stands. In the unseen realms, authority belongs only to God. And those who carry that authority carry victory. Conclusion: so the next time you feel overwhelmed by the weight of darkness, remember this. You are not walking through life unprotected. You are not abandoned. Behind the scenes, even now, heaven moves. Angels carry messages, fight battles, restore what is broken. And the most astonishing truth? The same spiritual order that once forced even Lucifer to bow still works in the lives of those who call upon God. Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, forces of war, word, and healing, stand as everlasting proof that darkness is not the final voice. Lucifer obeyed them not because he wanted to, but because he had no choice. And that reality should stir courage in us. If you ever feel the shadow of the enemy pressing against you, remember, heaven's authority is greater still. And when heaven speaks, when heaven fights, when heaven heals, even the devil must obey.